All right, tēnā koutou, I akaro rangatira. Nā mihi atu kia koutou, tika ranga o te rā, ko Steve Saunders, ko Ngāta Ranganui te iwi, ko Ngāti Ahi te waka, and no Silicon Valley tua tine, nā reira, tēnā koutou katoa. So that was just a general welcome, acknowledging our guests from Silicon Valley and our New Zealand delegates, and just a little bit of introduction myself and my iwi, where I come from, so being Maori, so that's always important for us to address our audience in Maori. So what I've got the great task of doing, which is actually a little bit outside my comfort zone, is really talking a little bit more about the New Zealand ecosystem and New Zealand. Generally, I discuss normally pitching or talking about directly about technologies I'm involved in, but just find the clicker. Okay, so for me today, digital technology, rather than large machines, is the key enabler of transformation. Robotics, drones, sensors, big data are a space that New Zealand can play a big role in. So, sorry, this is just got many clickers going on here. New Zealand's a proud culture of innovation, and primarily it's been driven by the fact that we've been small. Distant and exposed means we're focused, alert, agile and innovative. Being in New Zealand, the bottom of the world, our whole focus has been on export. We understand the global markets, and our whole focus is on high quality, high value product and getting it to the global market. Quite a different model to what we sort of generally see in America, which has been an internal big productive system. So our focuses are quite different. So innovation is a really key part of our culture. And that's sort of, it's sort of reflected in, the even world first originating technologies from New Zealand, like refrigerated transport. Just apologise about it, I'll get in sync soon. By 2050, we will need to feed more than 10 billion people, requiring a 70% increase in global food production. Increasing wealth in developing countries will create more demand for meat and dairy, and more, which is really more demand for protein. Climate change will impact existing agricultural output as global warming has impacts on where we grow things and how we grow things. Existing farming practices will not alone meet the challenge. Food safety, traceability, provenance, and environmental sustainability will be at the forefront of our thinking. As you will be aware, people are now becoming more concerned about what they eat, where it comes from, how it tastes, flavours. That is becoming the real global trend. The social media is playing a big impact. Our millennials are more and more interested in what's happening socially and environmentally within our countries. And that's a real key focus for us in terms of our thinking and innovation also. Agritech in New Zealand is uniquely blessed with a mixture of geographic, social, economic, and regulatory advantages. This makes us one of the best places to develop AgTech in the world, and it means that our companies are producing commercially focused AgTech innovations. We cut through clutter, we start at the right place. Social. New Zealand farmers are well educated. They understand experimentation and how R&D works. Farmers are driven innovatively. They're agile. They're great early adopters of technology. Our farmers are business driven and focused on consumers and their changing needs. That's the unique thing we have from New Zealand, being so distant from the marketplace. They know the world and its markets. There's a good vertical integration and exposure to the market signals, which means we're used to collaborating and understand the whole of the value chain. There is a level of trust, sharing, and data amongst farmers that doesn't exist elsewhere and ensures money is better employed. The strength of New Zealand is how strong and close our connections are. And research in New Zealand occurs within the farm system and wider value chains, which makes the results better and more reliable and provides validation. New Zealand AgTech innovations embed and benefit from this collaboration. In many countries, there is a disconnect between technological innovation and real work problems. And you have a big gap between the unmet problems needing solutions and the technological solutions. Looking for problems to solve, not so in New Zealand. New Zealand is cohesive and well-connected society. And we sort of operate in that 2 degrees of separation, which means we connect and collaborate to develop the test technology on the farm. Economic. New Zealand's farming system is completely unfettered by subsidies. This fuels innovation and delivers real focus and value and has put New Zealand farming AgTech in a leading position that it is globally. New Zealand has a proud history of bootstrapping. There's a lot of untapered potential for investors as New Zealand startup companies, innovators seek to take their innovations to the world stage with partnerships and investment. New Zealand is a world-class agricultural producer of quality products and scale. New Zealand actively encourages overseas investment and has good R&D incentives with comparatively low compliance burdens for business looking to establish here. Geographic. New Zealand's a great place for multinational R&D. Our strong and diverse agriculture sector is a great place to develop new ideas and try things without affecting other main markets. So it's a great test bed. We can develop in a very small market, test before we actually take it globally. Being small, distant and exposed, we're forced to be alert, agile and innovative. This has enabled our small agricultural country to have the first world economy. Because most product is exported, we have to be world aware, globally competitive, and fit into international supply chains. What you do is not foreign to us. New Zealand has a full range of farming systems within a very small geographical area, which means they can use the innovation from different sectors to our advantage. Virtually every type of product and farming system can be found in New Zealand. This provides multiple test beds in a small geographical area and makes what is done in New Zealand scalable. New Zealand's a great place to produce new crops because of our isolation, our clean ground, our strong biosecurity, as well as very skilled farmers. Being a southern hemisphere nation, New Zealand's counter-seasonal to Europe, North America and Asia. By following the seasons rather than the day around the globe, collaborative groups are gaining advantage by getting 2 years R&D field testing in each 12-month cycle. That's a very strong point we have in New Zealand. And our geographical location, we're a very long, skinny, small country, and we have every environment within a very close proximity. And all our research institutes are all within those close proximities as well. So it just gives us a huge advantage in being able to link with countries like America and do twice-year testing and R&D, which is a great advantage. Regulatory. Our government is very committed to supporting innovation to our regulatory and our regulatory environment is principle-based, efficient and effective, and regulators are accessible and responsive. New Zealand is ranked second by World Bank for ease of doing business, low inertia, easy to get things done. A great example of New Zealand is New Zealand's Progressive Civil Aviation Authority, actively involved in aiding the process of UAV adoption in New Zealand whilst maintaining safety for the public. Commercial operation of aircraft less than 15 kg, flying below 400 feet, do not require certification. Huge advantage compared to what we deal with here in America with when we saw in the globe at climate change, the amount of flights travelling over was just phenomenal. And one of the little great stories I heard recently was Rocket Lab. I don't know if anyone's aware of Rocket Lab, but that's launching a New Zealand company that developed a fuel system that is second to none, and they've built a big rocket launch pad in one of the remote parts of New Zealand out on Peninsula. And the main reason was there's one flight a day at 4 o'clock. That is all they have to concern about in terms of launching rockets to take satellites to the sky. So that's just that advantage that we have in terms of drone and field testing. So, and then we have a great support system from the New Zealand government. And that's sort of the core funding agencies and support agencies that we have in New Zealand. So with Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment, they're essentially the key allocators of and policy writers for the government funding agencies, including science money allocation to universities and the Crown Research Institutes. Callaghan Innovation, as Simon said, is hugely valuable to us that are in the technology development. That's where we can be supported through some of our R&D tech build at a ratio of 40% matching dollar for our investment in terms of R&D, and that's quite unique. New Zealand's very unique in terms of its support in creating high value technologies. And also, as Simon said, Callaghan Innovation have a real focus on connecting us in lots of different ways to experts and global experts and internal experts. Ministry of Primary Industries is really our border security. They're really responsible for all our border controls and security, but they also invest a lot in sustainable farming and a number of other ag incentives. And trade and enterprise is the final step, which they are there to help us get engaged in market. So again, as you're emerging from creating a technology and going to a global market, again, they have programs where we can match at a 60-40 ratio. They'll put 40% investment into helping connect the innovation to the global market. And they have experts across most countries in the globe and connections which help us connect internationally into the marketplace. And just an example of that is with Ministry of Primary Industries, the government and industry partner their investment. And as you can see on that slide there, the Primary Growth Partnership at a glance has been a big development to get in partnerships with industry. There's been 18 industry programs put together, an investment of $724 million. And the net benefits from that investment is going to return just over $11 billion in revenues back into New Zealand. So that's, again, a really unique position that New Zealand offers, is that real huge support. And that is really, it is really focused on increasing the success of primary industries, AgTech innovation, and and these programs include data capture, integration systems, precision agriculture, remote sensing and robotic systems. So there's a wide range of focus, and those programs run right through into the global market space as well, so ensuring we're getting adaptation in market. And then again in New Zealand we have a range of specialists. So as you see on my right hand side, the Landcare Research, those are our key Crown Research Institutes. So we have the likes of, so we have excellent government support R&D organisation, and they're focused on land and agriculture and value chains and its impact. So namely we have plant food research, So they're renowned for their breeding programs, plant genetics in the horticulture industry. So you'd be aware of Zespri and the Zespri Gold Fruit, the success of that. You've had brands like Jazz and Envy in the apple world, where there's a lot grown here in America. They've come out of the plant and food breeding program. We've got new cultivars like Rocket Apple. We've got 600 acres going in Washington State of that variety. So plant and food are very key to our horticultural industry. We have Ag Research. Ag Research is really the organisation for a lot of the farm-based research in New Zealand. Scion is really around our forestry, creating byproducts from forestry and forestry waste. Landcare Research is our environmental and science research. These are the guys that really focus on what's happening with our environment and our sustainability. They do a lot of work on what's happening with leachates into our ecosystem, our water streams. They look after our national collections, our biodiversity research. So all of these are very well connected. And NIWA are our weather, with our global climate change and oceans. So all of these work very collaboratively together with industry. So a lot of programs across those sectors together or independently, and work very strongly with industry. So very strong focus. And then then we have the universities, which again are very connected through all our innovation. And we have a number of projects. We'll have a number of universities involved in the one project. So there's a lot of collaboration between universities as well. Basically, 2 of the 8 universities started out as specialists in agriculture and are highly ranked for their agriculture and forestry vet science departments. So many are collaborating through the new Lincoln Hub. So in New Zealand at the moment, we're creating a new hub in Lincoln and Christchurch in the South Island. And that's where we're pulling all those Crown Research Institutes and universities into a central hub where you have science and inviting international R&D and New Zealand R&D. So again, it's a very unique opportunity that we're creating there, and that's I think it's a fairly big budget to build that over time. So that's a new initiative that's just been coming in New Zealand to even further connect primary sector, ag tech, all those things into a central research facility in New Zealand. And the other incentives we have is like Ag Tech Stakeholder Connect. So, we have a range of events such as those held at the New Zealand National Field Days. They play an important role in the nation's ag tech ecosystem. That event there attracts 120,000 people through that space in 4 days. It's a global event. We have people from all over the world come through. These really provide the opportunity to connect end users, customers with new technology, as well as emerging prototypes and concepts. So this year at the National Field Days in, I think it's June in New Zealand, there's a real focus where we're bringing new innovative ag tech companies, so startup space where there'll be over 70 new startup ag tech companies showcased in the middle of existing technologies. So it's a real mixture of established technologies to really developing and farmers and international people getting to look at what's coming through in the ag tech space. And I'll just take through a few, for a lot of people here, they may not be aware of the New Zealand AgTech sort of space, but I'll just go through a few of the New Zealand AgTech companies, and I've just chosen a few because some of those people are sitting in here. But we have the likes of Gallagher. They've been around since 1938, around a $220 million turnover. They export 75% of their product to over 130 countries around the world, have over 1,000 staff globally, and they have around 120 R&D staff, and they're putting around 10% of their revenues back into research and development. So just really an example of what can come out of New Zealand. And we also have our big leading companies like Fonterra with the big dairy industry, and Zespri, which is a great global brand around the kiwifruit. And both of those organisations really help drive innovation. Their incentives force farmers to be more innovative. So Zespri, for example, came out around distinguish themselves differently with their fruit to give customers a real taste experience. And they set parameters that we get paid on things like dry matter and fruit size and fruit quality rather than just supplying a piece of kiwi fruit. And that drove farmers and kiwi fruit farmers to become extremely innovative around how they grow their crops, because it came down to what they were getting paid and how the payment structures were set, and that drove innovation as opposed to just bulk farming. So very different. And also they're all connected around our social license to operate is very important for us in New Zealand. So our environment, our sustainability is a big key focus for us now, as we are a clean green country, and it's about maintaining that image and it's about improving that image. And with our Maori culture, it's also a lot about our intergenerational hand down of the land, and that's a real focus. And so our focuses are sometimes quite different to other global players. We have companies like Blue Lab, and for more than 30 years, Blue Lab's been helped hundreds and thousands of growers understand more with their pH, conductivity, temperature settings, and control systems. So very intuitive country. They do a lot of business here in the US already, well established. We have find this button again. We have companies like BBC Technologies. Again, BBC supplies world-leading turnkey berry fruit packing systems. I think they've got somewhere around about supply around 40% of the US market in terms of blueberry packing and growing. Very innovative company. At the leading edge of berry packing technologies, and we're all out at Driscoll's yesterday, and I understand they utilise BBC grading systems. We have also just sort of some early stage AgTech companies, so what's sort of coming through the pipeline. We have companies like Autogrow, so controlled environmental agriculture. So Autogrow has developed a range of quality process control system solutions for climate control and irrigation and for the horticultural and indoor agri sector. And as we all know, that's a very growing market, the concept of container growing food in the city. And I notice here in San Francisco the concept and talk about, like out at Treasure Island, creating a sustainable growing food system within the city, supplying direct into the city. And this is where these technologies are going to become more and more valuable, so it's a very large growing market. We have companies like Robotics Plus, who are developing autonomous robotic solutions. So some of their work is around automated kiwi fruit harvesting, robotic packing of fruit lines, sensing technologies, and you'll hear them talk more today. Companies like GPS provides customised land mapping solutions across New Zealand and internationally, specialising in horticulture and agricultural industries, heavily involved in the drone and unmanned aircraft mapping, and I think one of the first New Zealand certified companies to be able to fly across airspace with drones, etc. as well, and I think you'll be hearing from them today. And we have other companies like WildI, who are really supplying sophisticated water monitoring and software equipment. So as you can see there, real focus is on better use of water and resources, saving growers a lot of money through the value chain. And that's quite ingrained in New Zealand because of our distance from market. We've got to be smarter, we've got to drive our costs out, so we're always looking for those real advantages. And we have the likes of emerging AgTech companies coming through. So this is the next level down again. So companies like Autogrow, that's a new company that's just raising capital currently. They've come up with a very ingenious electric motorbike, farm AgTech bike. So, and that's sort of running on Tesla type battery technologies. And the efficiencies of using electric bikes across farms compared to petrol-driven machines is phenomenal. And you can see the advantages of being able to charge your cell phone while you're out on the farm, taking out your drills, doing all that sort of, that's really creative thinking. And actually thinking about the noise, quiet when you're around stock and handling. So, and it's also got a real appeal to the tourism market of having these electric bikes. doing very well at the moment, that company. We have companies like AgTech coming through, which are using web portal. AgTech provides a simple job management system for agricultural contractors. So again, like here, very real focus on about ease of operating and data. New companies like Sense coming through, which are providing an interface that enables farmers to monitor water, power, crop health, and animal well-being. So capturing the whole value chain. Quite often in innovation, you see many people taking innovation and new products at a singular level, as opposed to actually taking the whole value chain as the adoption. It's one of the things that drives me crazy as a horticulturist is we have 6 different apps that we have to use to do something rather than one app that captures it all, and that's, I think, something that people have got to focus on more. We have clean technologies coming through like liquid strip, which is world's first continuous separator, and that's really taking waste products, separating them from water, purifying the water, and being able to reuse the water. And there's a big drive in New Zealand for a lot of that. We're doing it with our dairy farms. Again, our social licence to operate is how we put our water back into the environment is incredibly important. And just to get towards the end is really, our AgTech ecosystem. So, how are we bringing young people through and the talent? So just some examples of that is we have the likes of Sprout, which is a new initiative. It's our Agritech Accelerator. So that's taking sort of a number of really good-looking ideas and accelerating them through, ready for the next stage of investment. And that Sprout is backed by a lot of industry, so a lot of industry players invested in Sprout to bring that young talent through. That then comes into a number of new government initiatives where the government is partnering with private sector to push tech incubators. So sort of based more on the Israeli model, where government and individuals partner up to actually take the risk of really accelerating and incubating to the next level. We're having an ever-growing presence in the angel network in New Zealand. That's growing. This is just one of probably 5 angel groups in New Zealand. This is now the largest angel group. And I'll just put that there because I'm on the board of Enterprise Angels. But as you can see there, in the last 4 years, we've invested sort of close to 20 million into startup companies. And our focus is not particularly, there's a few software companies in there, but around 43% of what we're investing in now is in that ag tech space. So there's been a real change in focus with this angel group around the importance of ag tech. So it just gives you a good spread of what's going on. So just in terms of summary, and that always happens on the last slide. The summary really is that the challenge for New Zealand essentially is New Zealand AgTech sector has scale, and it's worth probably around 4 billion at the moment, of which less than half of that value is exported. So New Zealand's created a lot of innovation, but we've created it more because of what we've had to create to really compete in the world. And we haven't really been particularly good at taking that innovation globally. And I guess this is what we're here for today, is really starting to understand the American environment and opportunities, meeting VCs and tech investors, and really selling our story that we do have great tech innovation in New Zealand. And it is globally relevant no matter which part of the world you look at. We really, with strategic investment and global market knowledge and end user insights, the sector offers significant upside for international investors. So, we really need the help of people like yourselves and how we can transfer into these relevant global markets and get those connections and get those introductions into market. That's one of our challenges. Every country is different in the way we need to approach it. And New Zealand has a major opportunity to build a global and scalable AgTech sector. The key elements are in place. What we need to do is a change of our mindset about how we come to the market and interact with the likes of yourselves and how we can move forward. And when AgTech was primarily about large machines, New Zealand was not we weren't a major player. You know, AgTech in America a lot has been about big machinery. It's big broad acre farming. It's how fast the tractor can go and GPS location systems, etc. That wasn't our space. We're not a big food supply chain. Our space has been about the more systems approach, commercial outcomes being globally relevant. So we've been in quite a different space. But as the globe is now changing and all this traceability, food safety, all these issues are becoming globally relevant, New Zealand is actually in a very good space to add real value and real opportunity to investors. And we really focus on sustainability and customisation and using data to improve practices throughout the farming sector. Our time has come. We now need to reach out to the global market and share that story. And this is just one of those initiatives that we do out in New Zealand to really start to connect and become more globally relevant. So with that, thank you.
As far as going globally, what are the different aspects or criteria that you have? Is it the ability to connect into the ecosystems in the world? Is it the capital? What are the different limitations to accessing the global markets? Thank you.
Yeah, I think in the AgTech sort of startup space, there's different levels, but generally, I think a lot of it is about connection to market, but also the capital and actually that investment from the likes of angel groups in America, VCs, because it is about being able to come into the market, be relevant, have that mentoring, have that support, have those connections and get into that space. And that's something we haven't been great at doing, or it's been very difficult for us to do. Sometimes I don't think we're seen to be that relevant in the past, but I think that opportunity is starting to change because the way food and people look at food and sustainability issues is really changing that dynamic. And I don't think AgTech's has been in the past a big number in terms of the way that VCs and angel groups have looked, but there's starting to be a real interest in that space because, as we know, with the global expansion of people, food and food traceability, that's becoming a very, very big topic. So I think for us, it's new ground. It's about having that opportunity to get into these forums, meet VCs and meet angel groups and actually get into the market, get that mentorship, get that support. New Zealand probably does struggle with capital in a sense of really getting global. We all know what it costs to go to market, create a brand, market that within a country. It's a big number. And so for a lot of little startup companies, it's a momentous task to really get established.
Hi, good presentation. Hi, good presentation. I just have a very specific question. Like, how do you define global market? What's your roadmap? Because in global, we have like over 220 countries, and Silicon Valley, any company, the day one, we think global, right? So what is your definition of being global? What's the roadmap look like? If somebody wants to invest in one of your startups or emerging companies, what are you doing to spread that message, or basically your vision on global, and how many years you think it will take to reach the vision what you are executing today?
That's a good question, and probably a big question. But for me, global relevance is about, I guess we look at, essentially in New Zealand, sort of there's probably quite often two focus markets in New Zealand. That's Asia, because in terms of AgTech and food supply, Asia's a premium market for New Zealand. Our focus, being a small country, has been taking our product where value is. We can't produce commodity products and survive where we are at the bottom of the world. Most people think we're Australia, but we are a little bit further down. But we focus on Asia because there's, again, for us, we can only feed as New Zealand, we got potentially to feed around 40 million people. And so why would we want to go and create a commodity product and compete with big corporates in America? So we're focused on high value foods going into the likes of Asia with the affluent wealth that's there. And you take China with 100 million millionaires, they're concerned about their food, where it comes from, they want to buy clean food. We can really address high-end market value. But by doing that, we're creating very good technologies which are globally relevant. And again, it's been able to come in and connect into places like America who have that scalability and have that know-how and that understanding how to really take that in across the global market. Does that sort of answer your question? Sure. And America for me, I think America is a really key, exciting market for New Zealand. Personally, I think I would actually prefer to be really scaling up within America than Asia. It's just we can speak the same language, and I think we can have better relationships. And I think, again, what I like about America is it is a big country. It's digitally and socially connected. There's really that change is coming. I feel that change is coming in terms of food safety and environment and all those things. That's going to become a real role here, and I think we have a really great opportunity to introduce tech into America, and via America we can, through the right companies and the right growth, we can, add a lot of contribution at a real global level.
Great, thank you so much, Steve.
Thank you.